Well, good afternoon. Pastor A.J. here, and we are jumping back into Rocky Beyond the Walls this week, looking at the passage that we unpacked for you on Sunday from Matthew chapter 9. If you've been following us or with us through this journey through Matthew, we're about to wrap up looking at 4 weeks of a series of successive miracles that Jesus has been performing, from physical healings to him speaking into creation and in calming the waves and the wind, to casting out demons. And if you remember, Matthew, who wrote the book of Matthew, is really writing to a Jewish audience, and we're starting to see the pot boil a little bit. We're starting to see that Matthew wants this Jewish audience to understand that Jesus is in fact who he says he is, the Messiah. And we came to an interesting kind of fork in the road here this weekend, where for a while Jesus has been doing these miracles, teaching, crowds are following him, and then there is a paralyzed man that's brought to him. And if you grew up in the church, you might have heard this account, this story where in other gospels, there's 4 friends that bring the man on the mat, and they cut a hole in the roof and lower the man down to actually have some face-to-face interaction with Jesus. In Matthew's account, there's no mention of the house or the roof, but all to say, they still have friends that bring this man to Jesus. And it's obvious that the man is there for physical healing. But for the first time, Jesus addresses really what the gospel came to do. And if you remember, in chapter 9, Jesus comes face to face with this man. He recognizes the faith of the friends for bringing the man to him, meaning they had some sort of context of who Jesus was. They understood he was a healer, maybe even a good teacher. They might have believed he was a great traveling rabbi, and so there was enough intrigue there to bring the paralyzed man to Jesus. And for us, it's obvious to believe that, you know what, this man's here to be healed. So what does Jesus do? It says in Matthew chapter 9, verse 2, that Jesus saw their faith, and he said to the paralytic, "Take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven." Now, you've got Jewish individuals there. You've got scribes, maybe Pharisees. You've got Roman officials. You've got Roman citizens. You've got a mixed bag of people, and for the first time, we see Jesus proclaim his authority to forgive sins. And it's a wonderful interaction, and we're going to see a very similar one this next Sunday as Jesus interacts on his way to do another healing, interacts with a woman, and he makes similar comments. And the striking comment, outside of the fact that he just proclaimed he has the authority to deal with sin, recognize sin, and see the sin for what it is, and then forgive it, he also deals with this man in a familial way, in a relationship way, where he calls the man son. Now, we don't know if Jesus had any interactions with the man, but he addresses him that way. That because he is a son, all right, there is a relationship between a son and a father that's deep. It's well known. Like, I know my son. Not like God does, but he lives in my home. I interact with him on a daily basis. We talk, we laugh. Sometimes there's tension. Like, you get to know people. And so what Jesus is communicating here is, in his divinity, he knows the depths of this human heart. And he's willing to do something with it. He just doesn't leave it lie there. He addresses the man's heart issues first, knowing full well why they're there. It's obvious that the man's looking for healing, that the friend's faith is extended to the point where they're willing to carry him. I don't know how far, but they're willing to carry him to Jesus. And Jesus heals the man's soul, gives him a new identity. And of course, as we talked about on Sunday, The reason why Jesus is doubling down on these healings and casting out of demons is ultimately to show that he is the true Son of God. Right? Because why does he say, or why does he give reason for these miracles? Well, he says it in verse 4 as he addresses the Pharisees who are calling him a blasphemer for saying he can, right? He can and does have the authority to deal with sin and forgive it. He says, which is easier, me saying your sins are forgiven or take up your mat and walk? He's creating tension here in the story. And by saying to the paralytic, rise, pick up your mat and walk, what is he actually communicating? He's affirming the first thing he told the man, the paralytic, on the ground, and that was, take heart, my son, your sins are forgiven. And in verse 6, he gives us the reason why, that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. And like I mentioned, that the pot is about to boil over here. And what I mean by that is there's two ways now where the Jewish people, even the Roman citizens, the religious leaders, are going to be viewing Jesus, either as the true Son of God, the Messiah, or not. And this weekend, we start to see that play out as the earthly ministry of Jesus continues. And it's about to take a shift from healings to calling, from healings to now discipleship. Healings, make a choice about who I am and then go and do what I do, preach how I preach. And I'm excited that we get to jump in a new series in the first part of May. Just a few housekeeping things for you. Make sure you put on your calendar May 5th. If you're a member here at Rocky Mountain Church or you'd like to learn more about who we are and where we're going as a church, May 5th is crucial for you to be at. It is our annual meeting after our 9:30 service on Sunday. This coming Sunday is our last Sunday fellowship, and it's really the last time in a Sunday fellowship format we get to hang out with our Ravencrest students who have blessed us tremendously this year. So make a point to bring some good food and to have some fellowship after church. I hope that as you've walked through the miracles of Jesus, it kind of velcros you to our vision, which here at Rocky Mountain Church, we exist to elevate our awe for Christ. It's one thing to elevate our awe and leave it there. We don't want to just do that. We want to take our elevation, our understanding of who Jesus is, and then we want to apply it. We elevate our awe for Christ in all things for all people. And there is a gospel movement, proclamation, sending mentality that Jesus is building in his earthly ministry. So all that to say, we love you. We hope to see you this Sunday. God bless and take care.